So, what is reflective parenting and why should people learn about it?
Well, basically, in the simplest terms, reflective parenting is a relationship based approach to raising children. And what I mean is that building and maintaining a strong relationship with your child is the single most important thing a parent can do for their child. Why all the focus on relationship? Well, it turns out that all the research, no matter how you slice it or dice it, all the research shows that when children have a strong relationship with a parent, they are just much more likely to do well in the long run of life. They do better physically, emotionally, socially, and academically. They're also more successful in making that transition from adolescence into adulthood. It's a kind of a challenging time for a lot of kids, and when you have a strong relationship with your parent, you're just much more able to navigate those rough waters. Now, it's amazing how we underplay the relationship these days. And that's why reflective parenting focuses so much on it, because it's not something that parents realize just how important it is. Now, what is it about the relationship that makes kids do better in life? The relationship it's like the foundation. It's the grounding. It's what gives kids a sense of security in the world. It also actually, children internalize the relationship they have with their parents, and it becomes like their inner navigation system. Like, how did it go with my parents becomes how I navigate myself through the world. Another reason that it's so important is because, to my way of thinking, there's a certain number of important lessons that we all need to learn in life. And it turns out that children learn those lessons within the parent-child relationship. So I guess I should probably add one more thing, and that is that scientists realize that human beings are the most social creatures on Earth. And because we are so social, our brains have evolved to support that sociability. And it turns out that from let's say, a biologic or evolutionary perspective, if you will, the parent-child relationship, the purpose of it is to teach the child how to be a competent social individual, how to get along with other people, basically, how to get along with a group. And the essence of teaching a child how to be a competent social individual, you know what it boils down to? It boils down to this capacity to self-regulate, to be able to control our emotions, our behaviors, and our impulses. So what's interesting, and the metaphor I use is that the parent-child relationship is the classroom within which children learn life's most important lessons. You learn how to self-regulate within a relationship, and those tools that you develop, that self-regulatory muscle, if you will, becomes what then enables you to do better in all other spheres of life. Because that's what enables a child to sit still, pay attention, focus their attention on something despite distractions, things like that. And like, for example, every time you ask your child to be patient, let's say you say, I'm busy right now, I'm on the phone, I can't talk to you. You're teaching your child how to wait. Every time you say to your child, you can't grab, no grabbing at toys, you have to wait your turn, we have to take turns, those kinds of things. Or it's important to share your toys. I know you want to keep your toys all to yourself, but you have to share them. Those kind of simple things that parents are always doing, that's where kids are learning how to self-regulate. And parents are encouraging them to self-regulate. They're going to practice self-regulation. And in addition, parents are usually offering them skills, let's say, as to how to cope with those emotions of, wanting to grab everything or not having to wait. And, parents say things to kids like, well, okay, if it's hard to wait, maybe just count to 10, things like that. That's like an inner skill that a child is gathering from their parent. I guess that's all I have to say on that right now.
Very nice. Thank you. Wow. We haven't heard about reflective parenting before. Why reflecting parenting now? And I mean, why is this relevant today?
It's particularly relevant. I think it's always been relevant in a certain way. I mean, it has to have been relevant because, turns out, in our brains, there's an area specialized for being reflective. And we know the brain is wired, there's certain wiring in the brain specifically dedicated to the parent-child relationship. So there must be something maybe universal about this, but we especially need it today because, well, I hope I can say this. It's okay to say this, but our society, I think we've gotten a little off track in terms of what's good for human beings. We've gotten too focused on achievement, money, success, fame, possessions. And reflective parenting offers a mindset that shifts things back to what it is kids really need in order to do well. They need the nutrients that are contained in a relationship. You know, we're so focused on being successful, but really success without well-being, achievement without well-being, it's really not worth it. And so what reflective parenting enables parents to give their child is not just an encouragement and the tools for being as successful as they can or achieving as much as they can, but also maintaining well-being at the same time. And well-being really includes things like a sense of purpose, a sense of connectedness to others, a sense of meaning in one's life. And that's what you get from relationships. And so that's one of the reasons why I think reflective parenting is particularly important right now. I guess that'll do for now, I hope.
Thank you. That sounds a little bit abstract. Can you be a little more specific?
Well, I do talk in a little abstraction sometimes, but yes. So reflective parenting is really a set, in the simplest way of thinking about it, it's a set of tools. I like to think of it as like a toolkit. And it's a set of tools that parents can learn, and they're all directed at building and maintaining a strong parent-child relationship, giving children what they really need in order to thrive. And the reason it's called reflective parenting is because the most important tool in the toolkit is your capacity to be reflective. So now you can ask me, what does that mean, right?
Yes.
You meant to ask me that, right?
Exactly right.
So being reflective is the natural, innate mental skill that we have, which is how we make sense of each other's behavior. It's kind of built into our brain's wiring. And what it means technically is that when we interact with other people, we see their behavior, we automatically make an inference about the meaning of the person's behavior. So what reflective capacity is, by definition, is the recognition that all behavior is linked or motivated or meaningful or triggered by something going on inside a person's mind. Your behavior is triggered by something going on inside your mind. My behavior is triggered by something going on inside my mind. And within the parent-child relationship, the parent has to realize that the child's behavior is linked to something in the child's mind, and the parent's behavior is something linked to inside the parent's mind. And our reflective capacity, you might almost say it's a little bit like mind reading, but only a little bit. But it's this, it's kind of this two-way process, two-way perspective taking, if you will, to be able to see inside the mind of the child and see inside your own mind. And what that enables you to do is not just to react to the behavior of someone, because you can see a person's behavior. You can't see inside their mind. Their mind is hidden. All we can do is make an inference about what might be going on in someone's mind, and then to be, let's say, open-minded enough and flexible enough to realize, well, maybe my inference was right, maybe it wasn't, and to make corrections. Right? And when parents are doing this for their child and for themselves, we know relationships are stronger. What do I mean by a strong relationship? I hope it's okay for me to keep talking for a little bit, but what I mean by a strong relationship is I like to think of it as like a rubber band. Stretch it, comes back together. You stretch it, comes back together. A strong relationship is not a perfect relationship, but it's one that allows for a sort of close connectedness and also allows the child to be their own separate autonomous self.
I see.
It requires both of those. And being reflective, from the research perspective, is the factor inside a parent that allows them to provide that kind of relationship for their child.
It's fascinating.
I hope so. I think it is. Yeah. Um, Now, in a sense, probably the words that come to my mind about what attitude a parent should have is it's not so much figuring out like as in like a math problem. It's more about just trying to be curious and wonder, and just to be realizing that you're going to jump to these inferences and not to get too rigidly hung up on them like that's the only answer. It might be something else.